Hello, everybody, and welcome to the CrossGen podcast. How are you guys doing today? I am your host, Walt, and I am joined here by my two kids. Guys, why don't you introduce yourselves?
This is Aegeus Maximus.
Eli with the cold.
With a cold. Why is that?
Yeah, I wonder
Why is
why.
that, Eli? Well, it's interesting that you said that you have a cold, which I'm not going to equate it to. But what are we going to talk about today? I think you kind of had a very awkward segue into it.
Yeah.
So,
COVID.
COVID,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
COVID.
We're sitting here on November 15th as we record this podcast. And of course, we're watching the TV news, and, it doesn't paint a really good picture, right, guys?
Mm-hmm.
No, because see, not that the U.S. is the only one feeling this, but imagine you're a country that has 50 states. Now imagine on the news that it says 49 out of those 50 states are coronavirus hotspots. Does that paint a very not bleak picture? I don't know. I don't know.
It is kind of depressing when you look at it. I mean, if you go through the numbers, I'm gonna start with globally. And globally, there are 54 million cases that have been confirmed of coronavirus. Thankfully, 34 million of those people have recovered, but we're talking about 1,300,000 deaths globally, worldwide. And if we dig a little deeper, us being in New York and living in the United States, it seems a little grimmer here because we don't make up a big chunk of the population of the earth, right? But yet it does seem like we are struggling the most to contain it because as of this recording, the confirmed cases are 10,900,000. We've had 245 deaths, people that have been lost, unfortunately, to this virus. And the case count today is 165,000 positive cases, and it's rising. And like AJ said, instead of us, putting our hands around it and really tackling this as a nation, the grim reality is that 49 states out of the 50 states that make up the United States, they are considered hotspots, which is not good because I guess this is the thing that Dr. Fauci was talking about, right?
Yeah.
He said, in his eyes, it would be good that we were going into the fall season when people tend to go inside, tend to congregate because of the holidays, and he was looking at a positivity rate of 10,000 or less and 165,000 cases a day is nowhere near that. I mean,
Wow.
that's I can't even. I mean, I can't even put it in words. I mean, there is literally not one state in the United States where the COVID positivity rate is falling. In every state, it's rising. Well, I take that back. There are three states, as I look at this map, that are flat. Okay, but I mean, I just I'm flabbergasted at this, and it saddens me because um, there's a lot of people suffering, and it's not even just the positivity rate; it's the hospitalizations that go up, and generally, when that happens, then the unfortunate thing is that the death rate kind of lags 2 weeks afterwards. Um, but what do you guys think about that?
Well, I think that we could be doing better, honestly. And a lot of it comes from, I don't know, it's like ever since like this stuff began, there's always been this resistance to just like wear a mask.
Right. I mean,
And that it's kind of weird because like in the past, you know, if there is like a disease or something, you know, you tend to do everything to prevent yourself from getting that disease. But now in this day and age, you try to do that and all of a sudden it becomes this whole other thing. And I don't know, just this
it's
is nuts.
it's not a health statement anymore. It's, and I know you guys don't want to broach this, but it's a political statement.
Yeah.
They've taken this virus and they've made it political, unfortunately. And it's not only here; it's happened in other places and stuff. But it's really unfortunate because what do they say? The three things, the base things that you can do to protect yourself is
Stay at a distance.
Wear a mask.
and wash your hands. Those are very, very simple things that we can all do to protect everybody. And you hear the calls and the cries by a certain group of people that state that masks are against their freedom, that it's anti-American, that it's anti-patriotic. And my argument to that has always been, what's more patriotic than trying to make sure that your fellow American is safe, right?
Hmm.
I mean, to me, that seems like it's a very, very simple thing to do. All you have to do is when you go out and you know that you can't social distance, put on a mask. Oftentimes, that may be a 5 minute interaction. Maybe if you go into a store, it's a little bit more, but it's just that simple. When you're walking around and you're socially distanced, you can take the mask off, right? You don't have to keep it on 24/7. The point is to have the mask on when you can't socially distance.
Yeah.
And to me, that seems to be a very, very simple thing to do. But for for a segment of the population in the United States, but it does happen in other places, there's this resistance to doing that. And for the life of me, I can't tell why. So, what are you thinking?
I think that yes, it is the I yes, it is society's fault for all of this, but I think well, I know one main reason why this is going the way it is because of the government. We have uh, I'm just going to say, I'm going to be honest. We have a president
In the
who
United States,
in the United States who just downplays the virus. No matter what you think, he does downplay the virus, and that's a fact. He
right?
doesn't wear
There was
masks.
those tapes, right?
Yeah, he doesn't
Woodward
wear
tapes.
masks.
Mm-hmm.
So he's basically setting an example for just our society, and it's making he's that's really all there is to it. He's setting an example of not wearing a mask and not doing the right things, and he's practically leading people to their deaths. He is.
It is unfortunate.
And you have Fox News who I guess sort of support him, and that's the problem. We have too many people supporting Trump that push him up to this I guess stand where he could basically set his example. And it's just stupid. It's honestly just stupid.
Well, you know what they say, what the president says matters, right?
Yeah.
And so, the
That
messaging has always been, well, what is the messaging? Because I honestly, I really don't know. Because
Yeah, that's
the thing is, his own government, the CDC, says you should be wearing masks, right? And to their credit, a lot of the politicians also say that, right? But then, you see, it's almost like a case of do what I say, but not as I do,
Yeah.
right? Because, they say, oh, well, it's important to wear a mask. But then you see all these events that happen and nobody's wearing masks, nobody's social distancing. And we had the thing at the Rose Garden, right? Where you had all those people that weren't socially distancing, weren't wearing a mask, right? And they all got COVID, and thankfully nobody died, right? But again, that they've have the best healthcare in at least the country, but maybe in the entire world. They can afford to do that. There's a lot of people that don't have healthcare or don't have really good healthcare, definitely don't have, access to all these experimental drugs like the president took when he got sick, you know. And so what is the messaging? Because one thing they're saying, but then they do something totally different. And then I hate to say it, but the president, he actually makes fun of people who wear masks, right? He even did it to one of the Fox reporters when she came up to speak to him at a rally.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Laura Ingram, you know who she is, right?
Yeah.
He was at a rally. She came up to speak for him, and she was wearing a mask, and he went up to her and said, "Oh, what is this? You're wearing a mask? Oh, I guess you're trying to be politically correct or something like that." Again, it makes no sense. So his own administration is saying you should wear a mask, but his messaging is totally different.
it's really
Yeah.
hard to explain because he has this. It's so complicated what he does. It doesn't make any sense. There's no logic or reason to why he does these things, but yet he still does them. And then it's like it's just so confusing and hard to explain because he just why do it's just hard to explain.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
really,
can't
really
I can't
is.
I can't really give reason. I'm trying to give reason to what he's doing here. There's no reason for what he does.
So let me ask you this question then. When it was announced that he got COVID, right? And I hate to say it, but no real shock there, right? So, um, what did you think about that, and what did you think was going to happen when he recovered? At least, what was your hope?
Well, again, it was very unfortunate, but I thought, or at least hoped, that he would start to come to his senses and stop trying to downplay it the way he has. But it does. He really doesn't seem to have, even after getting it, taken it seriously. Like, you still have what we okay, so we have the vaccine coming out in a few days, but
Well,
or not in a few days, but
it's
it's in
coming
the
soon.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's coming soon.
it's in the works. Thankfully,
Yeah, but that's like you expect more from the highest office in the country, but lately it doesn't at least to me it doesn't feel like that's an expectation that's been lived up to, because what's this that you heard the other day, how many secret service agents finally they came out, like, I don't know, a very good deal of them actually
dozens,
have it.
dozens, you know, and these are people that are tasked to protect the president, and you know, I hate to go back to this, but it was just such a stark image of when he left Walter Reed, right? And jumped out of the helicopter and walked up those steps. And what did he do? He took off the mask.
Yeah, he had like
and he was still contagious at the time,
yeah.
and he took off the mask and walked into the White House. And so, I mean, knowing that you're still contagious and willingly taking off that mask and putting every single person at risk. I mean, there was that comedy bit, right? That I think I showed you, didn't I? The one with Dave Chappelle. Well, he did a
Which
Saturday Night Live opening, and he mentioned
okay.
that. And I'm gonna make light of it because I'm trying to make light of the situation. But he says, there's that point where he walks into Walter Reed, he leaves Walter Reed, he gets to the White House, goes up the steps, takes off the mask, walks into the White House, and kills 4 people. And I mean, he's not wrong, right? Because that was about as irresponsible a thing to do as all heck. But
Yeah.
then what does he do after that? He jumps in the car, still contagious, and drives around the White House because he can't help himself from his adoring fans. I mean, I just, it feels like instead of COVID humbling him after he got it, it feels like it emboldened him to be even worse because then he said, "Well, don't let don't let COVID run your life."
It's not that bad.
Yeah, it's
But
not that bad.
it really is that bad. It's like uh y-
It really is a shame, and it's a shame because you know what? I think if we had done the right things, you know what? Yeah, we probably would have had a resurgence eventually because until we have a vaccine, you know, it's always going to be a threat, right? But maybe it wouldn't have been as bad. Now they're talking about lockdowns again. And it's unfortunate because you know what? It didn't have to be this way, right?
yeah.
Um, E, what do you think about? Well, let me put it to you this way: how has COVID impacted your life? Thankfully,
Not really.
yeah, thankfully we haven't. We've been very very diligent, in trying. We've stayed home as much as possible. You know, you guys are doing remote learning.
Mm.
Um, Only me and mom really are the ones that go out. When we do like food shopping and errands and things like that, and we still go out every once in a while, right? But we've kind of hunkered down and tried to socially distance from our family, unfortunately, and our family is doing great. Also, they're doing the same things, and so thankfully we haven't had anybody in our family get sick, and I hope that continues until we get a vaccine. You know, but in terms of like your day to day stuff, how has COVID really impacted how you guys are working?
Well, it's generally simple. School is school is like it's gotten a lot. It's gotten awkward at some points because it's really just like I feel like a lot of kids take advantage of the fact that we have remote school, so some kids won't participate. And you know what? I know I'm one of them. I take advantage of that.
Like Cartman.
Yeah, literally like Cartman.
The South Park episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you guys saw this yet. I really hope you do, but you did. But so South Park came out with a pandemic special, and what they would the like I think it's the opening to it. Cartman's like his alarm goes off and he's like, it's time to start ski, and then he goes over
It's like a
and
song, right? Doesn't
yeah,
he do like a
he
musical
does like
piece?
a short musical piece, and it's like, all right, I'm logged into class. Hey guys, Cartman, I can't. And then he puts up like a picture of him frozen uh, to the screen, and he's just going off doing whatever for the rest of the time. It's so funny. Oh
Yeah.
man.
That was good. That was good. But that kind of, they did it in a funny way, but it's kind of true, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of how many times have you complained about internet and you know I
Yeah,
can't connect and all this other stuff, even though we have a pretty good internet connection, right?
yeah. But
But there's four people trying to hit the internet at the same time, right?
yeah, so things get really crazy now that we have like COVID and stuff. I don't know about work. So,
Work for me in the COVID era. So I'm a manager and I work in a hospital, and so it's the hospital went into shutdown mode pretty quickly in March, and being in New York, it was really difficult because a lot of things happened. We got overwhelmed to the point that we basically had to shut down the entire hospital and make the entire hospital a COVID hospital. So places where like pediatrics or cancer patients or heart patients, I mean, if they were there, we had to take care of them, obviously, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what a hospital does. But for all those open beds that weren't occupied by an active patient, those were all COVID beds. Even departments that had nothing to do with taking care of patients, we opened up two entire wings to facilitate how many sick people were coming in,
Wow.
you know. And so, and unfortunately, we did lose a lot of employees to the virus as well, and these were employees that were there and they had PPE, and they sacrificed themselves to take care of others, and they're heroes. There's no other way to put it. They're heroes, right? So now in New York, we did the extreme and we locked down for a while, and we basically got it under control, and we did the hard thing, and a lot of people suffered and stuff, but we did the hard thing for a reason, and for the most part, it worked out because for the longest time, New York was um, one of the lowest in the United States in terms of positivity. We were under 1% for a long time, a long time. But now with the weather changing, now it's starting to go up. I think the last time I checked, we are at 2.57%. So 3% is where it triggers all schools going remote. We haven't gotten there yet, and there's a lot of pushback against that. But anyway, in terms of work, so I'm used to going into the office and doing my stuff and stuff, and then when the pandemic hit, we all went remote, and so it's funny because I feel like I'm working more hours doing remote than if I were going into the office, because going into the office, I usually got out like around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. But right, there are times I'm on the computer until like 8, 9 o'clock.
yeah, yeah.
And then when we were at the midst of it, I was working until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, you know. So it does seem like remote work is
Is
is more intensive just because
yeah.
of the fact that you're home and you're available all the time.
But that's the other thing. I find that to be absolutely stupid because it's like I feel like people take advantage of that. And yes, we might be home, but that doesn't mean we still have work to do.
Hmm.
So I feel like a lot of people take advantage of that. And then I know I have a lot of homework sometimes, and it kept piling to the point where like I was overwhelmed. And I feel like just because we're at home, yeah, we shouldn't have too much work, too intensive work. You can give us work, but not too much.
Okay,
And
I
that
agree.
goes for schools and work.
So you're in middle school.
I'm in middle school, so
AJ is finishing up college. He is, and everybody give a big shout out because he is in his last semester and he's going to be graduating
Well,
very soon.
actually, I might have to go to winter session because of a really small and stupid technicality with my minor.
Oh,
but
okay.
I have to take one more class.
That's okay. There's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
But how does that affect college work now? Because we've already done my regular work, we've done middle school work. College work is a different animal.
So here's the thing. For the most part, it feels like I've gotten more, but at the same time, less. It really depends on the class and who's running it. Like, there's this one class. Um, so there's this one class. I'm there. It's a three. It's like a 3 hour class normally.
A 3 hour tour.
Yeah. And so we have a 2 hour session or close to 2 hours. He tries to keep it in 1 hour, but realistically, sometimes it goes to like an hour and a half, sometimes two. But then we also have, because the way it's set up is you have synchronous lectures, which is when everyone meets, it's on the live call, and you have asynchronous lectures, which are like recorded things that you view on your own time.
Mhm.
So the synchronous is what I was talking about, 1 hour, 1.5. Then you have the asynchronous material, which
So hold on a second. Before you continue, I want to jump back onto the synchronous part, right?
yeah,
Because you say it's usually an hour, hour and a half. It can go up to two,
yeah.
right? What happens if you have a class right after that class?
How
Like if you were in school, right?
yeah,
You would schedule your semester, your curriculum
yeah,
based on how you do it. I mean, this is something you and I go over constantly, trying to figure out how we can balance your schedule, right?
yeah.
But so if you were in person,
Mm-hmm.
class ends,
Yeah,
you would go to your next class.
that's true.
So how does that change now that remote and your class is supposed to be an hour, but now he's extending it to half an hour, 2 hours? What happens if you have a class right after that?
Well, here's the thing. In person, that class is supposed to be 3 hours.
Oh, okay, okay. So then
Yeah,
that ends the conversation right there.
yeah. Nothing is being like he.
I thought it was like an
No,
hour class, and now he's extending it by like another hour, and it's like, what the heck? How are
no.
you gonna do that? Okay,
So in the beginning of the semester, he said we're going to generally have our synchronous lectures at an hour, and then you have to consume this other stuff on your own time. So what's been happening is, yes, it's generally at an hour, but sometimes or most of the time it's
Yeah.
the hour 30, sometimes 2 hours. But then here's where it gets a little,
dicey.
yeah. The asynchronous lectures are probably 2 hours worth of material on a good day. So sometimes it feels like I'm really doing 4 hours.
Again,
And
back to the whole thing where it feels like you're doing more
yeah.
when you're remote.
But then there's the polar opposite where we're supposed to have the synchronous lectures, but we just don't have them at all.
Okay.
So, because there's this one class I've been taking, we've had all of 2 sessions, and after that,
Nothing.
zip. But that has more to do with, as I understand, he has some things going on his end. So I'm not really gonna like fault him for that. But
Yeah, but
there's
you're
definitely,
paying for the class though.
yes, that's true. But circumstances.
Okay. Well, still, you're still
Yeah.
paying for the class.
You're still paying to learn, and you're not really learning if
Yes, I understand that, and there has been frustration there.
practically
But
wasting your money. Just saying. I'm just saying.
You should have a talk with the registrar. But I'm just saying. Anyway, okay. So
but
I
yeah,
guess in a nutshell,
COVID
it's
sucks.
half and half with you,
but
because sometimes you have more and sometimes you have less, or in the case of that class, you have nothing.
yeah. Well, it's not even. They're also the classes that are pretty much perfectly balanced too.
Okay.
So
I
the
guess it
only
depends on the teacher then, right? How well
yeah,
he's managing the class.
Yes. I mean, the only other thing that I guess is kind of perplexing is that I don't know. Well, actually, no. This is actually a pro. I'm not the most outgoing person. So when it comes to like the digital atmosphere, I actually feel like I'm able to contribute more because I don't have those anxieties weighing me down.
Yeah.
Like normally what I can do in these classes, I can just turn my mic off, turn my video off. I
Hmm.
have that option. And so what I normally do is I just use the chat to interact. And so that actually works out better for me because I feel less anxious to participate cuz me I'm kind of the perfectionist. I feel like okay, I have to know the answer so that I don't look stupid when I go up and
Okay. So there is a positive to it.
yeah, there is a
Okay.
positive to it definitely. Yeah.
So Eli, let's go to art class.
Oh, okay.
Because art class we when the pandemic hit, our class was we go to Long Island for those on Saturdays, right? Because you are a budding artist, you're going to be um, submitting
Yeah.
your
My artworks.
your artwork for high school auditions coming up pretty soon. When I have no idea because COVID again is impacting that, right?
Yeah.
But it's a good thing we did the open houses last year,
Yeah.
right? So that was a godsend, and thank mom for that because she was the one that had the foresight to say, you know what, you're not going into high school this year, but it's always good to do the open houses a year early. And if we hadn't done that, well, there's no open houses right now because of COVID. So
Yeah. So
it's a good thing that we went
Yeah.
because we got to see the high schools that you're interested in, right?
we got lucky.
We did. We got lucky, and like I said, mom was really a trendsetter,
Hmm.
I guess, right?
Yeah.
So she really thought this through, not even knowing what was going to happen this year.
Hmm.
But that being said, art class we usually had it on Saturdays, right? So
Hmm.
you go to an art academy out in Long Island on Saturdays, and you learn art history. You do art fundamentals. You do work on techniques and forms and functions and things of all that, right? So when the pandemic hit in March and everything shut down, you were going in person, and then it had to turn to remote, which wasn't the best experience per se, right? But
Yeah.
at least your art teacher had a he didn't like doing art class over Zoom.
I don't like either.
Yeah.
But even still, hmm,
So how was that for you?
it was good. And honestly, it was just really awkward. If I'm being honest, because a lot of us wanted to like mute and stuff. I know I did. Because I feel like having your microphone on unmute just really it gives me anxiety. But
Especially with everything that's going around in the house also, right?
yeah, but I really felt safer. And that's probably one of my problems with going to art class. You can't
Eli
exactly.
Eli is the Dr. Fauci of our household.
Yeah, I really don't like to take huge or small risks, but I feel like you can't really when you're in a small space or a space just like how much feet is this?
That's at least a good 15 feet.
A good 15 feet or more, you can't really social distance. And that's my problem with art class. That's I remember Mr. Antonori, yeah, that's my art teacher. He said that I should he said that I should get closer to the class so that cuz I was way too far away, but I
Mhm.
feel like that's I was kind of nervous because I don't really when you're in a pandemic, you're not supposed to be around people. So I felt like we didn't really social distance. We obviously had our mask on, but that's my problem with it.
Well,
Especially
you're talking about last week, right? Because
yeah,
now you're back, and now you're back in art class,
yeah,
right? And it's in person, right? Now the good thing is there's only besides you, there's only three other kids there,
yeah,
okay? And two of them they're they sit at the same table because they're always together, right? So it's just really you and your other classmate, right? And everybody's wearing masks. So even when he put the table next, it was still there was still like that 6 feet separation,
I
right?
know, but like when you have to go sharpen your pencil, you're gonna be passing by somebody, and
Hmm.
I get that you're wearing your mask, and technically that should just be fine with it, but that should just be good. You'll be good if you have your mask on, but even so, I don't like to take risks like that.
Okay. Well, maybe you have a conversation with your art teacher, and just you're well within your reason to voice your concerns. But I think that's where everybody is right now. It's the anxiety of
Yeah.
of how you deal with this, how you deal with other people, right? And I think that's the biggest thing that comes out of this right now is that we really don't know, right? We're still learning a lot about this stuff as we go along. And so, um, it's the anxiety that I think that's getting to people. Have you guys felt it? Because I know, Eli, you just mentioned you had anxiety, right? Because of that. Have you felt that in any way, AJ?
Yeah, I in more ways than one actually. There are some people I like to visit every now and again, and sometimes I get a little flack for being too cautious. So it's like, okay, but come on, you got to understand that this is serious stuff. I mean, I'm only doing this so that everyone is safe. But it's like, oh no, we're all good here. Come on, if this person had gotten it by now, then yeah, there'd be cause for concern. They got it by now, but no, we've been fine so far. So what the heck? And it's like, but the point is, you want to keep it that way, and
Hmm.
it gets a little frustrating sometimes.
And I think
And
that's the scary part of this virus, right? Because
yeah,
you can have the virus and show absolutely zero symptoms.
until like what, a week later.
No, no, some people don't show symptoms at all.
Oh yes, that's right,
You know,
the
Oh yeah.
you
asymptomatic
yeah,
thing.
you have people that are asymptomatic. So
I didn't know that.
yeah, and that's why this virus is so scary, and that's why this virus is really raging in the states because of the fact that people they haven't grasped the idea of asymptomatic being asymptomatic, right? Because you hear how COVID is so bad, right? And there's I think the figure was 30% of the population could in fact be asymptomatic.
And
So I mean
that's a lot.
that's a lot. And I think that's what's driving everything that's going on because you got people that are walking around and saying, well, you know what? I feel fine. I don't have the virus. I'm not wearing a mask. And yet then they go and feeling perfectly fine go into a setting where there's a lot of other people that feel that way. But at that point, all you're doing, you may not have it, but you're spreading the virus amongst all those people. And all those people may not get it the same way. They may also be asymptomatic. But then there are the people that get the virus. And then there's various ways of getting it. You can get it mild, you can get it moderate, you can get it severe.
It's really just
So this virus is really sneaky,
yeah.
right? And I think that's
Sneak
the
level
thing.
100.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that's
But
driving everything.
you know what?
Legendary.
I don't think it's sneaky. I think it's just us being stupid. I'm gonna be honest. It's just us being stupid.
It's messaging. It's people not wanting to hear,
See,
and
Yeah,
certain people not giving the right message
the
out.
problem
when
is that a lot of people, and especially the people who aren't taking it probably as seriously, they're trying to find a normative state, a way to go back to the way things were. And especially if you've been cooped up all these months, you will certainly feel it. But now, especially now, is not the time to be trying to go back to that normative state. Now is where we really need to be on our guard.
I
And
agree.
that's sadly not the case with everyone. And that's contributing to this whole explosion of cases.
It's it. I feel like even give we don't even really give COVID-19 a hard time. We sort of just invited it in, if
Yeah,
I'm being honest.
we've kind of given up.
Yeah, we not given up, but like some more of just it's like nobody cares. Nobody
I
really has a
think it
care
I
for it.
think it's like AJ said. People are having COVID fatigue. You know, they're listen. It's hard. You know, and you hear the stories about, you know, how people are suffering not only because of the virus but because, you know, they're cooped up. And, you know, we're lucky that we have a very tight family, and, you know, we go and talk to grandma and grandpa. You know, we speak to our cousins, we speak to our uncles and stuff. You know, um one of my brother, your uncle, he's on the other podcast with us, right?
Yeah.
The Get Geek podcast. So we're still talking, but there's some people that don't have that, that base, you know, to help them out. You know, some people live alone, some people are lonely, and, you know, they suffer from depression, they suffer from, some people are scared to go to the hospital when they're sick because of what's going on, you know. That's another thing. So there's a it's a really, really crazy situation if you think about it, really, right?
Hmm.
There's so many factors that go into it, but I think at the end of the day, the best way to handle all of this stuff is to get this virus under control, so then that way we can sort of go back to a semi-normal life.
No.
Isn't there like a song like that, semi-normal life or something like that? It's a rock song, an alt rock song. I don't know.
No,
Anyway,
I don't
but
know.
you know, the point is you do the hard thing so that you can do the easy thing afterwards, right?
Hmm.
And I don't think people have gotten their head around doing the hard thing because it's hard, right?
Yeah, yeah. You know, I think that's a really big thing with humanity as a whole. You have climate change. That's I don't do I need to even explain that?
Well,
And
for some
then
people you do,
okay,
because
yeah, you
some
know what?
people don't
Fine.
believe it.
Climate change. We have this weird thing where with global warming where like our earth is heating up. See, the thing about that is that nobody really wants to do anything. And in fact, people are really lazy.
Well,
It's not only that.
the governments are trying to
The
do
governments,
something.
but like you
It's
have your everyday see here's one of my problems with people is that they say how much global warming is a bad thing, yet nobody does anything about it except for maybe like activists and government people.
the issue with that is that a lot of people, they've become used to a certain way of being, and that has made them comfortable, and they got used to it. But the thing with instituting all these climate oriented changes to how we do things is that it's going to eventually upset our normal. And that
And
is,
it's expensive.
yeah, that's at the basis of everything. People don't want to upset their flow, their normal. And what climate activists have been trying to do, or people who are doing all these drafting all these laws and these policies, they're trying to find a way to, well, at least some of them, trying to, I guess, kind of buffer or have that transition to, okay, here's the normal, but now here's the new normal. And that's the problem with anything, honestly.
Yeah,
People don't want to upset their normal, and
that's
I
Well,
that's
get
the
it.
same
It's
thing with
tough, but
COVID.
yeah,
you at some point,
you got to
you,
change.
you can't keep your head in the sand. You
Well,
know.
new normal for climate change. In this past day, we just had a new hurricane form, Hurricane Iota. That is the 30th named storm this year. That's a record. The previous record
Wow.
was 2005, where there was 28 storms. We've already blown past that by 2. So I mean,
I'm
and these storms, they're not simple storms. They're like big, dangerous storms. So
when has life ever been normal though? So
yeah,
like
but that's part of life. Life is not normal. Life is
so
crazy.
and
You know.
why can't we try to make a change? And I'm you know what, this is going far beyond COVID, but like tr- we'll have to stop. I'm not even just yeah, I'm just gonna drop it. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's been a crazy 2020. And so I like to joke that 2020 is the beta version of 2021. That it's a test for 2021, and hopefully, 2021 will come and it'll be better. I hope.
2020 is a beta of 2021, and then
Yeah,
2021 is the beta of 2022.
2022 is probably when we go really back to normal. You know,
No, I don't think so. I think that with everything
if
going
we
on,
get the vaccine.
I know, but with everything going on, I don't think.
Oh, you're talking about more than just the COVID. You're talking
Yeah.
about.
No, I'm talking about COVID too.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about if people don't start changing, then yeah, this is probably going to go on for a long time.
We got to get the anti-vaxxers on point with this because they don't like taking vaccines, right? That's not their thing. And we have to worry about people worrying about the vaccine because, again, COVID has not been a health crisis, it's a political crisis. So now, everybody wonders if the vaccine is being rushed for political reasons. So now people question that on that level. 2020 has been crazy. All right, well, uh, let's wrap this up. Do you guys have anything else to say about this?
Oh, there's only that, again, it can be tough on like interpersonal relationships and stuff like that. Just hang in there.
We need to wake up. We need to wake up. That's literally all we need to do. You guys are like half asleep, bro. Gotta freaking wake up. At some point, you're gonna have to realize the world isn't as normal as you think it is.
Well, let's end this on a positive note and let's say that, we hope that everybody that's listening to this podcast is safe. We hope that everybody that's listening to this podcast I hope that you don't take what we've said negatively. We're only trying to help. We're only trying to find a way to get people to be empathetic, to get people to, care for other people as well, right? And to do the right thing so that we can get past this pandemic, this virus, this once in a lifetime thing, and we can get through it together and get on the other side of this thing better than we were before, right? So, on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed our little talk here. It was a little bit more serious than usual, but I think it was important. And listen, if you like what you hear, I know we're a brand new podcast, but the best way you can support us is by finding us on your favorite podcast app and rate, review, subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know if there's anything that you think we should be doing less or more of. And I guess that's it. So until then, guys, please be safe and we'll see you next time.